Let us now talk a little bit about getStaticProps. As you will see, getStaticProps is very similar to getServerSideProps or getInitialProps, but there is one big difference, and I will show you that difference at the end of this video, which I hope is not going to be very long. Now we are going to go to our Strapi backend and we are going to create a new content type which is going to be called pages, because we are going to integrate pages with our actual pages, or at least our about page in this video, since we want all of our content to come from Strapi. So you go to content type builder and let's create another content type by doing create new content type, and we are going to be calling it pages. We click continue. We are just going to add two fields to it. The first one is going to be title, and the another one is going to be content, and it's going to be a rich text field. Finish. Great. Now we have two fields and we have another content type. We click save. Once our content type is created, I will just refresh this. So we have pages here. I'm going to add a new page, going to call that page about, and paste in some lorem ipsum text right here. Okay, great. Now we save this. And let's check if this works. Well, of course, actually, it's not going to work because we have to go to roles and permissions, go to public. And for pages, we need to set count, find, and especially find one because we are going to be using this one. Click save. And now if we go to localhost 1337 pages, we will get all of the pages. And if we go to one, we will get that first page, which is going to be our about page. So we have the title, we have the content. Now we are going to display that on our website. Now in our about page, about.js file, we are going to import box from reflexbox and fetch from isomorphic unfetch. We're going to do box because I just want to make this page a little bit better, because if we go to our browser, check this page out, I don't like it that I'm an about page is all the way to the left side. So let's fix that. So here, when we are returning our content, I'm just going to add a box of variant of container, and I'm going to add our page title. Okay, now if I save this, now our about page looks like this. It's a little bit prettier. Okay, so what we want to do in this episode is get that data from Strapi, that about page data, and display it right here. Of course, you probably already know how to do that if you have been following this series. You could be using getServerSideProps, but in this episode we are going to be using getStaticProps because I think getStaticProps are much better for pages or other content types that are not changed very often. So if you have that kind of content on your website, you could use getStaticProps to pre-build them. So when you put your website online, the server actually doesn't have to make any requests. That page is already going to be built. But there are of course some downsides to it, and I will show them at the end of this video. For now, we're just going to get the data from about page and display it right here. And to do that, we are just going to go at the end of our about.js file and call our data. And as you can see, this is pretty much similar or probably exactly the same as getServerSideProps. Instead of getServerSideProps, you're just saying getStaticProps. You're calling your API and we are getting the pages /1 because we know the page with the ID of 1 is our about page. So we want to get that data, and we are of course returning the props, which we are going to call page. So we are going to destructure page right here. And now you can use that pages data. For example, in our not CEO, but SEO, we can just do page title. And same thing is for our open graph tags. And of course, you can add more fields to your pages, some SEO fields with a description, or maybe some other meta tags that you can call in here and populate your SEO object. But of course, we are not going to be doing that in this episode. We have our box variant container. We have our about page title. Of course, we want to show page title right here. So let's just test if this works. Save it, go to the browser. If we refresh it, we get the same thing, except now about is not hard coded. As you can see, it doesn't even say about page, but just about. Great. Now let's get the content. And we are just going to get the content by using dangerously set inner HTML, and we are calling page.content. Save this. If we check it out in the browser, this works. Great. So we are getting that data from our Strapi backend. Now let me show you why this is very different from getServerSideProps. If I now go to my Strapi backend, go to pages and go to an about page, let's change the title of the page. I'm going to call it not about. Save it. Take a look at it. And as you can see, it says not about. This is great. But remember, we are currently in development mode. Your website, if you have been watching the previous episode, your website, when you start it on some sort of a server or in the cloud like DigitalOcean, you're going to start it with npm run start. And that is going to push your application into production mode. Now, production mode is a bit different than development mode, because take a look at this. So first of all, we are just going to go to our terminal, Ctrl+C out of our application, and we are going to build our application. So you do npm run build. You have to do this also on your production server. So you do npm run build and wait for it to build. So even here, when we build this application, you can see that we have this dot near about page, and that dot means that this is automatically generated as static HTML and JSON. Uses getStaticProps. But for blog, contact, movies, and so on, you can see that is using server-side rendering at runtime. So it uses either getInitialProps or getServerSideProps. Great. Now, if you have been watching the last episode, you know that on production server, you would run your application by doing npm run start. So once the application has been started, we can check it out in the browser. And this is our page. So if I refresh it, it says not about. Great. But if I go to my Strapi and change the title again, save it, refresh it, it still says not about, which is not the case for the movies. For example, if I go to my movies and you see Inception right here, I can go to movies, to Inception, and just add something to the title. If I save it, this is actually going to change, right? We get the new data. But since this is generated at build time and it's a static page, we are not getting any changes until we build our application again. So this is the downside of getStaticProps. Because when you change anything on your API, it's not going to reflect on your web page. However, your web page will be much faster, and also it's not going to be doing any sort of network requests to your API because it is already built and we are serving the user already built page. So this is the fastest way to go. But as I said, if you want to change anything, you are going to have to rebuild your application or your website again. So that's the difference between getStaticProps and getServerSideProps or getInitialProps. So I hope the difference is clear now. Anyway, this has been it for this video. Everything we did here will be available for you on GitHub. The link will be in the description below. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.